Welcome to another episode of the Finding Serenity in the Midst of Chaos podcast. Today, we're talking about 6 questions to reflect on at the end of the year. And today we have Ian back, and that's going to be amazing. So stay tuned and let's reflect on the year. Hello, Ian.
Hello, here I am. I'm back.
You are
Yes.
back. Oh, we missed you.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad, in a backhanded way. Yeah, it's nice to be missed. It's nice
Yeah,
to be back. But it's also nice to have actually taken a back seat and
yeah.
listened to all the wonderful people that you've actually met. I don't know how you managed to source all of those people in 9, 10 weeks, however many. I've lost count now.
Yeah,
What an amazing a break from our regular series, if you like,
yeah.
to meet these people who I guess are specialists in their own
Hmm.
particular field. And your pattern of welcoming them was to get them to describe who they were
Yeah,
and how they help people, what they do, if
yeah.
effectively people. And that was really interesting. And it what we've been doing for since March 2020, since the beginning of COVID,
I know.
has just evolved so much and changed. And as we've learned and changed, we've brought new things to our listeners and our viewers, and it's
Yeah.
been a great experience. And who knows where it's going to go? So really, now is a good time to look back over this last year and reflect what our feelings and thoughts are, and see what it brings for us. And I know you've prepared some questions
Yeah.
that you've got for me, so I shall do my best to answer them. And you see, I've still got my Christmas jumper on, so
Mm.
still feeling a bit Christmas
Nice, I know.
at
It
this
is
stage.
at the time of recording, we are only less than 1 week away from Christmas, but at the time of release, this will be Boxing Day. So
Indeed, yeah.
it's just still time to reflect on the year if you haven't already, if you're not hungover, if you're not if you're not having heartburn yet, still
That's it.
time to sit and reflect on the year. And I think you've summarized it really well. We've been doing this for a long time now together, and it was good to have new people as well because
Mm.
when you say how did you source these people, it is quite amazing how many people you do know, and most of these people I already knew from my past life in some
Well,
way or through
okay.
my network, social
Yeah.
networks, and some of those people I did source, as the word goes, through other social media platforms, which is nice because there are so many people who wants to share their message, who wants to share how they help people. And it's good to broaden our horizons and give our audience a
Yeah.
little bit of change as well, and
Mm.
then see how we can help them. So it was delightful to do those, and but it is delightful to be back, Ian, because I
Good.
do
Yeah.
enjoy our conversations. So,
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, we've covered so much,
oh, we
and
did.
things change each year, and yeah. So it'd be interesting to see what we come up with today.
I know. Today this is an exercise that I do every at the end of every year. I'm sure most people do. Just reflect on the past year, what we've
Mm.
done, what sort of things that we've achieved, I achieved personally and professionally. And it's just a good way to kind of put the year to rest, even though, between 31st of December to 1st of January is just another day. It is kind of nice to go and reflect. And often people don't know what to reflect on, you can make a whole list of 100 things you've achieved, but it kind of gets a bit more stale. So I wanted to share today 6 questions, I mean, to share with everyone and to reflect on the year, because that really gets your mind thinking in a certain way in order to then bring out those great bits. And I share those questions with you before our recording so that we can maybe share bits of our own reflection as well, Ian.
We will do our best, and I love the way you say that. These days, these years come round. It's a day like any other day, but I think it is right. In our human minds, we do divide time up into months,
Mm.
weeks, days, hours. It's a logical way of us managing and thinking about time. So it really is appropriate as a new year begins, an old year ends, a new year begins. It really is appropriate, I think, to look back just at the year, because that's what you've just lived through, and you're about to go and live in another year. Although, it is. It's
Yeah.
just the sun comes up, the sun goes down. It's just the same every day.
Yeah.
But it is good to have these markers in place. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to today. Be
Yeah.
interesting to, I don't know what I'm going to say myself, really. So, be interesting to see what I do come up with.
Cool. Why don't I start us off? And for our
Please do.
listeners, if you need to pause this audio or video, then you can after every question and write down your version or write down the questions and come back to it, do a journaling exercise. A disclaimer, I didn't come up with these questions. I actually learned this from someone last year. It was a LinkedIn post somewhere, but I'm borrowing with pride and sharing the love to everybody because, you can come up with your own questions if you like. You can write a list of 100 things, but these are really great questions that you can ask
Mm.
yourself, and I found them to be very useful for me. So, question number one, how would you summarize 2024 in 3 words?
Mm. Wow.
So, ponder on the question, write it down, and then pause the video to do it. In the meantime, I'm going to tell you the 3 words that I want to summarize the 2024 with and why I summarize it in that way. My first word to summarize is family, because that's, one of the most important things to me. And this year, of course, family has always been at the top of my mind. And, I have the privilege to be able to take my children to school and pick them up from school and be with them whenever I can during the day, because of the type of work I do. And we take them on little getaways, holidays, whatever, and we are there for them for whatever they do. And that is a really nice place to be. And I'm just so proud that I can do that. And I want
I
to
think that's really great. I'm just throwing in here because
sure,
it's something that is been appropriate for the last year, but it's something that has been important for a long time as well. So,
of
these are
course.
things that we carry forward into the next year. They're kind of consistent things that we always want to be there in our life. That's how I'm sort of
Yeah,
understanding there.
absolutely. And as the kids are getting a bit older and older, you just feel like this train headlights running towards you kind of thing. It's
Oh, yeah.
in a tunnel. Oh, they're going to leave the house, they're going to grow up, and they're not going to want to know me anymore, and all this sort of panic is coming. So every time, every little moment is precious and so important to spend that family time. So I'm really putting that out there. And my second word was trust. Trusting the events, trusting the universe, trusting whatever is happening. It's all happening for our highest good. And there are so many challenges that we face this year, as a family, as individuals, whatever. Yet we in the process we trusted that it's all working out, even though at the time perhaps it wasn't quite what we wanted and
Mm.
how we wanted it. We trusted, and things are working out a lot better than we ever thought it would be. So
Wow.
that's again is a really nice anchoring word for me.
Good, nice positive stuff there. You see, it's all there's lots of good that can come out here. Yeah.
Exactly,
What could
and
be the third word? I'm trying to guess, but I'm not gonna have a guess. I'm gonna wait.
I actually changed this in the last
Oh,
minute, just before we came off online this morning, of on air, whatever do you want to call it. It's I changed it from growth to abundance, because growth is obviously a constant thing. We grow anyway, regardless of
yes.
what we do or don't do. Abundance is the word I chose because I had so much abundance come to my life this year, especially the last quarter of this year. Not just abundance of money, but abundance of friends and people, like you've just said. How did you find all of these people? It was 15 different people, in fact, I've interviewed,
Right.
some
Okay.
some to yet be published. And
Yeah.
they just, if you thought about, if you told me this time last year you're going to interview 15 people on your podcast, I would never even thought of it. So
No.
that's a good thing. And being open to it and being really receiving of it brings more of it. So that's my 3 words, Ian.
Good, well done. Well, I'm going to be accused of copycatting here, but I have to say family also. That's
Okay.
that's got to be a word, and I'm not just copying you there. It is important. So I totally get why you've used it and the reason I've got it. I mean, this year Daniel finished school, so that was a really big landmark in our
Wow.
family. So we've just got the one boy. We've just got Daniel. He's now 18. As I say, he finished school this year just gone by, 2024, summer of 2024. He's still searching to determine what it is that he wants to do. He's been doing some odd jobs around the house for us, for other people. So bringing it back to our looking at the year, that's been a real major milestone that Daniel, for the first time in his life, in a way, has now left school. Obviously, he was as a
Yeah.
toddler, not at school yet, as a
Yeah.
4 year old, let's say. But from age 5, he's been at school. He was
Mm.
still going to school this year, the same as he was when he was a 5 year old boy. He
Yeah.
put it that way. It sounds
Yeah.
very strange, but of course, a whole lifetime of development is encapsulated in those
Wow. Yeah.
13, 14 years that you're at school. So
Mm.
family has always been important. That's what I mentioned for you. It's not just something new for this year, but it's something that we
Yeah.
carry through the years, and that remains as a constant
Yeah.
important thing to us. So family is one. I'm going to make word number two which has been my word for the year, surrender.
Okay.
So I'm going to bring that in as a way of reviewing the year and say, yeah, I have managed to do that. I want to use it because it has made a difference.
Okay.
And by just being aware, by just saying this is my word for the year,
Mm.
it's made me think about things that I can control and things that I can't. And I've become more aware. I don't think I've ever been one of these people that have really complained about the weather too much. We joke about, oh, British people always talk about the weather or moan about the weather, whatever. Yeah, sure. I mean, I like dog walking, and I'll go out with the dog in all sorts of winds and
Yeah.
weathers, really. So, and don't complain about it. If I go out and get wet, come in and have a shower and, get dry afterwards and get warm and carry on enjoying the day. Don't moan about it. Is the thing. So just one
Yeah.
example there of
Hmm.
thinking of what you can control, what you can't control, and then just putting your energy into things that you can make a
Yeah.
difference to. So
Cool.
that has been a year of doing that.
Hmm.
So I really have to include that. I am struggling a bit for a third word here. I I hope you don't mind. I'm going to use the word success
Okay.
because it was a successful year. I'm going back
Mhm.
to Daniel now. Lots of these things are
Hmm.
integrated all in our thoughts. But
Sure.
what have been the most important things? Well, Daniel finishing school, but getting successful A levels. He got 3 A level results, a B, and a D, which were higher grades than we expected, higher grades than he expected. So he
Okay.
did his expectations. So that is very, very successful.
Mm.
I'm not counting the fact that he doesn't have a job or he doesn't know exactly what he wants to do and be. I'm not counting that as failure. So as far as I'm
Oh,
success, he's jumped into this chapter. He's in this new chapter now, and he's got time. We're not kicking him out.
yeah.
You talked about your children growing up and flying the nest. I started worrying about him leaving home at age 10, which was 8 years ago. That's ridiculous. I put my hand up and I confess how ridiculous that was to be thinking that. But I suppose it just shows how important
Mm.
family is, and that we're going back
Yeah.
to number one now. So yeah, family, surrender, and success. It's been successful in our church. We've been looking for a new pastor. It's been a long, long search. It started way over a year ago. We finally appointed somebody in September.
Oh, cool.
That's been successful. He is absolutely fits the bill. He's what we needed. It's what we have been looking for, and it's exceeded our expectations. So that fits in. That it's not
Oh, yeah.
necessarily a personal success, but it's something I wanted to see this year, and I've seen it,
Yeah.
and in abundance. So
Excellent.
that's so yeah, it has been a successful year.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that was it, wasn't it? Yeah, family,
Yeah.
surrender, success. There you go.
Yeah. So the three words we've described. So you the listeners, you can find your three words and why you chose them. You can contemplate it in your walk, you can write it down in your journal, but it is a great exercise to do. So, in this, the second question, in when were you courageous in 2024? And this is a really interesting question. Like you don't just get out of bed. When was I courageous? Like, what did I do to be courageous? So this really requires a lot of thought. And by the way, we're not going to give all our answers for the rest of the podcast, but we're just giving you some taste of what it was. And there is a couple of courageous things that I did. One of the things that I would like to share is, again, doing expert interviews in the podcast. It was
Yes.
courageous in the fact
Yes.
that
I agree.
it
I
was
agree.
courageous in the fact that
Yeah.
like
You.
I said, we started in 2020. We've week in, week out, we did it like really habitually, if you like, but we enjoyably. But it never even crossed my mind to even have somebody else on the phone and on the podcast until
Yeah.
someone reached out to me and said, "Can I be on your podcast?" And my answer was
Yeah.
like, "No, we don't have guests on the podcast." Then it just occurred to me, why don't we have guests on the podcast? And then that was that. So, but then it was a big step to get out of my own way in a way to
Yeah.
go and reach out to people and bring those people in to talk to them. And this not only allowed me to open my mind and meet new people as much as I knew of them, it was just still knowing them a little bit more deeply, but also reconnect with those who I already knew from my past life, if you like. And bring them back and tell it,
Mm.
sharing their stories because there are so many uh, inspirational stories in there that you guys can take something from and apply it to your lives. And I've certainly applied many of those in mine since the beginning of September. So yeah, that was a courageous thing to do because we broke a habit. We did something that we've never done before and never even thought of doing. So that was one of
Yeah.
my things.
July, you got off the nail, didn't you?
I did, right? Yes.
Regular listeners will know what we're talking about there, getting off the nail.
You are right. You are so right. You got it spot on. And there is so much for me still to do to get off that nail. And this has kind of become the what is the word I'm looking for? Become the reason for me to get
Yeah.
off that nail, if you
Mm,
like.
okay.
There is a
Yeah.
word I can't quite get, but we're not going to dwell on that
Don't
now. So
worry.
yeah. Is there
Go on.
anything
We don't
you
solve it all.
can
Yeah,
share?
it comes back to one of my last points, talking about the church and our search for a
Yeah.
pastor. Our old pastor retired in January, and he
Oh
said,
wow.
that will be a line in the sand. Thereafter, we didn't have a leader as such. So actually, one of the things that I stepped up and took on some of the tasks, particularly the administrative tasks that our previous pastor had done. So people were coming to me to like book the church for, we allow other people to come in and hire the building, if you like, just to do a kids party or things like that. So just negotiating things like that and dealing with it, which somebody else would have dealt with. The guy at the top would
Mm.
have dealt with that. So I took on some of those responsibilities and just launched myself. I can remember sitting around the table at the meeting and he'd saying, somebody's going to have to do this. Who's going to do it? And everybody all looks at, what it's like. Who's going to do it? Who's going to do it? It's definitely not going to be me, but I wonder who's going to do it. And in the end, I'll do it. Let's just take that courage. Let's take that intention, and let's just do it. Just get on. Let's just go in. So yeah, again, outside the comfort zone, get involved.
Mm.
That's it, really. We've got a lot to cover in the podcast today, so I won't go into any more detail on that.
Sure, yes. And this one is a good one. This is question number three. What did you learn about yourself in 2024? This was an interesting to again contemplate for me. Um, I mean,
Hmm.
this is not something that
Yeah.
I've necessarily learned as
Right.
such,
Yep.
but it's okay. There's two things actually. One thing that I did learn
Yeah.
this year new as a new thing, how to manage my fear and my anxiety. I don't necessarily, I'm not an anxious person. I don't suffer from anxiety in any way, shape, or form.
No. No. Absolutely. I
But
totally agree.
there are situations that creates a bit of unsettlement in me, like anyone, because I am human after all.
Yeah, fair enough.
And this is associated with some perhaps past events, past trauma, whatever. And this year, for the first time, I managed to recognize those moments when I'm feeling anxious. Not only that, I managed to let it pass through me and alleviate it very, very quickly by doing
Yeah.
some things like moving my body, my going and touching a tree,
Wow.
acknowledging what was causing it and literally accepting it and kind of going through. And I've mentioned this in one of the podcasts. It was on that day of recording that we did it. I think it was the yoga, how to integrate yoga into your daily
Yeah.
routine in that
Yeah.
episode with Sarah. It
Mm.
was then when I had to go through a big moment of anxiety, and I was like, oh, actually, it's caused by this, and we can get rid of it. It's fine. And it was great. And now I recognize it every time it comes up. I go to the bottom of it. What is this caused by? And then I deal with it there and then, rather than letting it be with me all day, 3 days, weeks, whatever, because then it's going to accumulate into bigger anxiety. So that's one thing that I did learn. And the other thing I wanted to share is that, again, we put ourselves into these boxes of not who we are, but what we do. And we associate ourselves
Oh,
with what we do. We've mentioned this many times before.
yes, yes, yeah. This is a
And
hot one. Yeah.
it is, isn't it? This year I came to accept I'm not just one-dimensional being, even though, in the past I did something else as
Yeah.
a job, and in right
Yeah.
now I'm doing something else. But there's no reason why I couldn't do all of that, because it's still within me. It's still part of me. It is still something that I'm good at. I
Yes.
cannot
Yeah.
put myself into little boxes of what I do is who I am and what I bring to the party as a whole being, no
Yeah.
matter
You
what
don't
I'm doing.
have to
Yeah,
fit in a box, do you? You are
yeah,
you. You don't have to fit in box A, B, or C. You bring what you are
yeah.
to the
So
world.
that's something that I learned. That's something that I've allowed myself to be this year, which was
Sure.
great. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's my thing. What about you? Is there
That
anything you
that
want to share?
that's me. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So what did I learn about myself in the last year, 2024? I think that I can, if I disagree with something, I can put my point of view over. I tend to want to avoid confrontation, but actually you can confront. And the way that I need to do it, it's very it's difficult to explain, but if you want to argue against something or whatever, you can say, no, I don't think that's right. I think that's totally wrong. And you can go in a little bit confrontational, or
Yeah, yeah.
you can say to somebody, look, what you're doing is great. The way I see it is a little bit different.
Mm.
And, if you consider what I'm saying, this will enhance you. So I think to answer the question, what have I learned about myself is that it's fine for me to do that. I'm
Yeah.
not going to upset anybody. I'm not I'm not being seen to be aggressive or dominating or overpowering or anything, the things I wouldn't want to appear to be to people. So
Mm.
I can do it.
Excellent. I'm so glad, and well done for that's also part of your courage as well this year, if I may
I
observe.
guess so. Yeah,
Because it
that's
was
right.
it,
It's just stepping in
yeah,
and doing stuff that you wouldn't normally do, and
yeah,
try. It's positivity all the way, really.
yeah,
So
and allowing yourself to be able to do that, and well done.
yeah,
That's again part of the whole growth of
yeah.
in the past year. So good. And number four, yeah, and no number. Did we say so? Number one, two,
We haven't got
three.
numbers, but the next one for me is complete the sentence.
Complete the
In
sentence.
2024,
Four,
I
yeah.
have changed my mind about dot dot
Yes.
dot dot dot.
Yeah, what have you changed your mind about, Ian?
It probably all comes back to the same theme, doesn't it? Really,
Yeah.
that I can disagree with. It's okay to disagree with people. They're not going to be upset. They're not going to hate me. They're not going to, So yeah, I've changed my mind about just keeping quiet about stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Say,
Yeah.
bring to the table, bring something. I I go back to an example very, very briefly that I've quoted in a previous podcast, some 50, 60 podcasts ago, probably,
Yeah.
that I was sitting in a meeting at work once thinking, why is my boss not saying something that is so obvious? Come on, say it, say it, say it. And I'm thinking it all the time. And I don't feel that I can say it. Why is he
Mm.
not saying it? And it's just
Yeah.
that feeling that you can't engage either because you think people are more senior than you or people are more experienced than you or they got more knowledge. I mean, it's nonsense. We are, entitled to have the experience and knowledge that we have here today. We are
Yeah.
that person, as you say. You're the person. You can don't have to be in a box A, B, and C. You can bring all sorts to the table, to the party, whatever expression you want to use. And
Mm.
yeah, that's the thing. So don't hold back. I've changed my mind about holding back, keeping quiet. I want to be, more in there.
Yeah, excellent. I mean,
Hope that makes sense.
that
Yeah.
makes sense. And for me, I've changed my mind about what I've written something, but there's something else came to me as well.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah, go for it.
Where abundance can come from. Obviously, the abundance can be in many forms, as we said, whether it's a kind gesture, whether it's money, whether it's time, whatever.
Yeah.
And I've allowed myself to receive more abundance from many different sources without having to be bound by what label it was attached to. And
Okay.
that's great that I'm opening myself up to it. And kind of related to that, again, I've learned to let my guard down a bit more as well. I think it's all stepping out of this comfort zone thing that we've
Mm.
been talking about, and it's just
Yeah.
the element
Yeah.
of having to push myself out of my comfort zone still
Yeah.
scares me and still puts me into a
Mm.
lot of
But you've
scary
changed your mind.
thoughts.
You've changed your mind about it, despite all those feelings. You say,
Yeah,
"Look,
I am gonna
I've
do
changed my
it
mind. I'm gonna do
regardless
it."
because I recognize it's the fear that's talking, not what I really want. So that
You
is
know what I'm
what
gonna
I,
say?
yeah,
Maybe you don't feel the fear and
and
do
do
it
it
anyway.
anyway. Exactly. Oh,
It's an
wow.
old pod. Yeah, it comes from a previous podcast. But as we were saying just before we came on air, it's all these things we talk about are so encompassed. They're so engulfed.
Mm.
They're so the themes are all there in whatever aspect we decide to talk about. Really. So
Yeah.
so
So
exciting stuff. All
it
right.
is. The question number five, what would you like to have more or less of in 2025?
Oh, more money? No,
Yeah.
actually, no, no.
Okay.
It's not really. I mean, I'm so blessed. I have enough. I have everything I need and most of what
Yeah.
I want, and I think that is the best place to be. So, I don't feel that there's anything I necessarily. You could say, well, if you were able to get a sports car, would you get it if money was no object? Oh, yeah, that sounds exciting. Yeah, I think, yeah, probably that. Probably I do want that, but actually, I don't need it. It's a bit of a
Yeah.
dream.
Yeah, I
It's a
know.
bit outside reality, really. So yeah, what do we want more or less of? I think less sort of time wasting in a way, possibly. Just don't know. That's a bit of a strange one. I need to think that one. I need to think. But I'm not quite sure what I'm trying to say here, really.
Okay.
Because time. I mean, I get to be able. I'm very fortunate. Again, I'm very blessed that I get that I'm not now like yourself, Chulai, as well. We're not in those 9 to 5, Monday to Friday jobs, and it's absolutely nothing against anybody that is, but we're just talking about our own experience here and saying we're not in that position. So actually we can manage our time differently. We can kind of choose to do things when our time and our brain are in sync almost, I think.
Yeah.
So I think I want more of those moments where time and my brain are in sync. It's all very well having the time to do something, but if your brain and your energy can't
Mm.
absorb it and tackle it at the moment, then there's a bit of a mismatch. And then when you feel like doing something, you can't because you've got to go and you've agreed to go and wash the neighbour's car or something. And not for example, but
Yeah, yeah.
sometimes you really want to do something, but you really must go shopping or you
Yeah.
really got to do something else. And
Yeah.
I just want more of those moments where time and my brain are in sync. How's that?
That's good. Sounds good. Is there anything you want less of? You said time wasting.
Time, yeah, yeah. I think that just that kind of ties in with what I've just
Okay.
said. It's having it's using the time well and using the time positively, trying to use the time to do the things that you feel like doing to get the most out of, and yeah, just being in sync really.
Mm-hmm.
So the two are tied in with each other, I
Okay.
think.
I think for me personally, I would like more free time with my family.
Oh
And,
yeah.
I'd like to not work on Fridays anymore, even though,
Mm,
it doesn't feel like work. It'd still be nice to not to do that.
yeah,
And more
yeah.
love, more joy, more fulfilling friendships, new friendships,
Mm.
and professionally more impact, helping more people and creating more abundance and learning and growing as a business.
Well, that's
And
that's
I
brilliant. That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want less fear, less doubt, less lack,
Yeah,
less
I know. Yeah.
and less of toxic people. Not that I have many in my life. I've very much eliminated them all, and less hiding for me, and that's um will become a lot more important in the coming year. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna leave it at
Wow.
that.
That's brilliant. That's a great art. That's much better answer than mine, but I'm pleased to hear it.
Cool. And
We're not
last,
in competition with each other here. We're
no, we're
just bringing
not.
our own
No.
experience and working together, which is
And
great.
this is a really interesting question. How do you summarize? This is our last question, question number
Okay.
6. How do you want to summarize 2025 in 1 year's time?
Oh yeah, okay. Right. Time travel.
Yeah,
So this time next year, what do I want to be sitting here saying about the year that I've just had?
yeah,
Hmm. That's I've I think that I've brought more of myself to the world and the people that I'm involved with.
hmm,
My involvement with I've mentioned the church a lot in this podcast, probably more than I've mentioned it in all the rest of the podcast. And the reason for that, I don't want to sit here making people think that they're excluded because they're talking to somebody who's a Christian and is involved in Christian church, etc. And I don't want to polarize. I
yeah,
just what we're doing is for everybody, and that there actually is a big link there with the Christian faith that it is for everybody as well. But I want to bring more of that, I think, and courage comes back in being able to
yeah,
talk about that belief and that faith to other people to say, look, it is for you as much as it's for what you might call religious people and that sort of thing. So maybe I just want to do a bit more. Maybe I want to, in a year's time, be able to say I've done a little bit more on that
okay,
front. And yeah, yeah. I'll leave it at that for now, and we'll see in a year's time whether. But I think to develop my faith, it's
yeah,
an important thing, and to tell other people about it, and to break down the barriers and the myths that there are around a God that's created the earth, or even, a church. There are
yeah,
lots of misbeliefs and misconceptions, and I'd like to be able to say I've helped people to eliminate those. A bit
okay,
like a lot of your guests, they've got specific focuses. We talked about the
yeah,
yoga. There was one who talked about binge eating as well.
yeah, yeah.
So, in a sense, I'm your guest that wants to talk about faith.
Oh,
In a
maybe
sense,
we should get you as a
look at it
guest.
that way.
Oh yeah, maybe you'll be one of the guest experts to talk about it. How
Yeah,
faith,
yeah.
how faith in Christianity change your life. How about that? That'll be our
Yeah, there you
topic.
go. That would be very good. And if I could sit here in a year's time and say I've done more of that, then that's what I'd like to do.
We'll make it happen. Put it in the calendar, everyone.
There we go. It's a date.
Excellent. So, I mean, this is what I'm going to finish with. This time
Sure.
last year, when I did this exercise,
Oh yeah. Okay.
I said in answer to this question, it was my biggest financial year since starting my business in 2019.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was one of the business related um,
Yeah.
statements.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I when I read it back, I forgot that I written it. When I read it back, I realized that it was,
Wow.
and it became true, and that's huge for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So you've been able to do what you were hoping to do.
yeah, I
Looking
did.
forward. Yeah.
And
Wow.
for next year, what I've written is That as well, but even bigger than 2024, and it came from surprising and amazing sources, which kind of is the
Okay.
theme of opening myself up to more opportunities. And there's also other things that I wrote personally, which I won't necessarily share here, but
Okay.
it's something that, I'm setting my intention for, and I've done that, and I'm doing that again for next year, this time next year when we talk, hopefully. And we'll be in a different place entirely as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Wow. How about
Good.
that? There you
I
go.
know.
That's our look back at 2024
Yes, that has
and
been
our
a
hopes for
longest of
25.
episodes. I know we've been away for a while, and when we
Yeah.
start
Well,
talking,
a
we
lot
don't
to talk
stop.
about, a lot to think
Yes.
about.
I just want to
Brilliant.
summarize the 6 questions for everybody as well, um, one by one, and then we'll do the outro and we'll finish. Yeah, sounds good.
Yep. Sure. Sounds good.
So number one is, how would you summarize 2024 in 3 words? Number two, when you were courageous in 2024. Um, um, Number three, what did you learn about yourself in 2024? Number four, complete the sentence in 2024. I've changed my mind about. And number five, what would you like to have more or less of in 2025? And number six, how do you want to summarize in 2025 in 1 year from now? So those are our 6 questions to our listeners. Make sure you go and do this exercise for yourself at some point when your head is clear, when you're clear of all the distractions, because it is such an amazing exercise to be able to reflect and maybe set the intention for the next year as well. Yeah. So Ian, if there's nothing else you want to say, I want to say goodbye to our listeners, and thank you so much for listening and tuning into this podcast every week this year. And I know next year is going to bring new changes, differences, but we
Well,
will
that's
hope,
right. We
yeah,
are evolving all the time, as we
all the
keep
time.
saying. And so watch out for some changes coming. But we're going to
Yes,
be here still.
we will. And if you love this episode and if you love our podcast, make sure to subscribe to our podcast in any platform that you like, and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we will see you in another episode next year. Thank you.